and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here, for clicking on today's video. In today's video, I'm actually going to be making two different things. So I'm going to be making some blueberry muffins, and it's going to be just kind of a standard blueberry muffin with some crumbly cinnamon topping. And I'm also going to revisit one of those viral yogurt treats. I have made this before in a video and I made it out of strawberry, but today I wanted to try it with blueberries just to kind of see how that tastes. So basically this is just yogurt mixed in with a little bit of honey, and we're just gonna mix in some blueberries and mix it together, put it out in clusters, freeze it, and then you coat it in chocolate. I'm looking forward to trying that. So we'll see how it stacks up against the strawberry clusters. All right, let's get started with our blueberry clusters. So the first thing we're gonna need is Greek yogurt. I'm using non-fat Greek yogurt. I know that a lot of recipes recommend using whole fat yogurt. It'll freeze a little bit differently. It might be a little bit smoother. There aren't really any measurements for this, but I'm gonna use about a third of a cup of yogurt. And to that, I'm gonna add some honey. It's gonna give it that flavor and that sweetness. Again, no measurements. I'm gonna add maybe a tablespoon. Right, and then we're gonna add some blueberries. So I have already washed these off. And again, no measurements. We're just going to mix maybe half a cup to a cup. We just wanna mix it all together just so it creates a cluster. And everything is coated with that yogurt. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay it out. I have a pan here. I know I've seen people use cookie sheets. I wanna make sure that it does fit in my freezer. So I have lined it with parchment paper. And we're gonna go ahead and we're going to lay these out in clusters. So I've laid these out kind of evenly in clusters. You can probably make these as big as or as small as you want. Just really gonna depend on the freezing time. So let's go ahead and get these in the freezer and let these harden up while we work on our muffins. All right, to get things started, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna start by mixing all of my dry ingredients into a large bowl. For the muffins dry ingredients, I'm gonna need a cup and a half of flour, 3/4 of a cup of white sugar, just white granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and about a half teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna give this a good mix just to combine all of that together. And then I'm gonna set that aside and I'm gonna prepare my wet ingredients. All right, and for this, we're gonna start out with just a 1 cup measuring cup. I have a glass measuring cup here. And to this, I'm going to add 1/3 cup of oil, so just vegetable oil. Make sure you have a flavorless oil. And then I'm gonna add in 1 large egg. Okay, I'm gonna give that a little bit of a mix just to break up that yolk. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is I have some whole milk here. You can certainly use low fat or non-fat milk if you'd like. Whole milk's gonna give it that best flavor though. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pour my milk into the oil and the egg, just until it fills just to the top. So we're about a half an inch from the top of that measuring cup. You can certainly start with a little bit less and add more to your batter, just as long as it is pourable into the pan. So we're gonna go ahead and we're going to add this to our dry mixture. And we're gonna combine. We are mixing this just until we see everything incorporated, so we don't want any more lumps. And to that, I'm gonna add about a cup of fresh blueberries. You can add a little bit more if you would like. You can also add nuts or chocolate chips to this. That would also be really delicious. So if you are gonna add chocolate chips, I would reduce the amount of blueberries that you're adding. We're just gonna fold these in. Okay, so for that crumb topping, I have about 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I have just cubed up to make them a little bit smaller. I've added about a tablespoon of cinnamon. You can add a little bit less, so you can start with a couple teaspoons. I happen to really like it, so I'm gonna make it that flavor really stand out. 1/4 cup of lightly packed brown sugar and 1/4 cup of flour. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mix this up. We're gonna basically push the dry ingredients into the butter mixture to make a nice sprinkle topping that we're gonna put on our muffins. So we have our batter already ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna spoon it into our muffin pan. So for this, you can use those muffin liners, either the silicone one or the paper one. I'm just gonna put it directly into the pan to bake these. I'm going to grease this one. It is nonstick, but I want this to be foolproof. So I just have a little bit of butter that I have placed on a paper towel, just about a 1/2 tablespoon or so. I'm just gonna spread that in each spots. Okay, just give it a quick, we wanna wipe away any excess butter, but we wanna make sure that everything is nice and covered in butter. All right, we have our tray ready to go. I'm gonna take my batter here, and I have a 1/4 cup dry measure. So I'm gonna take about a 1/4 cup of batter, I'm gonna scoop it, and just place it in each of the cupcake spaces. And that should evenly distribute 12 muffins in the tin. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my mixture, just little tiny bits at a time, and just lay that on top of each of your muffins. All right, I have my mixture all evenly distributed on my muffins. I'm gonna put these in the oven to bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 to 25 minutes, just so we get that nice crunchy topping on top, and I'll see you back then. These have been in the oven about 23 minutes and they look perfect. So they're nice and brown, that top is nice and crispy. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let these cool, and I'm gonna go check on our blueberry yogurt clusters. Our blueberry custards are nice and firm. They've been in the refrigerator for probably close to 2 hours and 15 minutes. So they're nice and firm and they're ready to dip in chocolate. So that's what we're gonna do next. We're going to melt our chocolate. I have about a cup of chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips, but you can use any type of chocolate you want for this, preferably a type of chocolate that you really like. So dark chocolate, milk chocolate. I added about a tablespoon of oil in here. You can also use butter. We want to make sure that we add the oil. It's going to give it a nice shiny color. It's also going to keep the chocolate from seizing up so quickly when we dip the cold yogurt into it. So that happened a little bit last time, so we're going to try it with a little bit of oil. And what I'm going to do to melt this is I'm going to put this in the microwave for 30-second increments at a time. Mix it until it is just melted. You can also do this in a double boiler. I'll leave instructions in the description on how to melt this with a double boiler. So we'll go ahead and melt this, and I'll come back when this is all nice and melted. All right, our chocolate is melted. This actually took about just 60 seconds, so 30 seconds and stir it, and then another 30 seconds. And that is exactly what we want. We want it just melted. And our blueberry clusters are nice and firm, nice and hard. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna dip these in the chocolate. So we're just gonna take the cluster, and I am gonna use a fork for this so that extra chocolate drips off. I'm just gonna dip it in, flip just until it's covered, and then put it back on our parchment. I'm gonna do the same thing for the rest of these. Just put it in, flip till it's just covered, that extra chocolate off, and then back on our parchment. You can use that spoon to kind of help it along if you have any of those bumps that don't quite get submerged in that chocolate. And then our last one. Flip it around, make sure that it's all covered. Let it run off a little bit, and then we're going to put it back on our parchment. This parchment's gonna be nice and cold, and you can see how the chocolate kind of hardens right away just from the cold. I'm gonna stick these back in the freezer for a few more minutes just to make sure we get that chocolate nice and firm, and we'll go ahead and we'll give these a try. We are back for the official taste test. We've got our blueberry muffin, nice and brown, and it's got that nice crispy top. And then we have our frozen blueberry cluster right here. I'm gonna start with the muffin. Oh. Nice and soft, really, really moist. Really like how it turned out. The fresh blueberries are a nice choice because they get nice and soft, and they kind of fill in those little spaces within the muffin. So let's give this a try. Mmm, so good. These are by far one of my favorite muffins to make. They're super easy and they're really delicious. I really like blueberry muffins in general, and these are always better when they're fresh. Really, really good. So let's give the blueberry cluster a try. Let's see how it compares to the strawberry, what that looks like. The blueberry is definitely just as good as the strawberry. I actually prefer the blueberry just because it gets distributed a little bit differently, but it is just as tasty, and it's nice on a summer day. It's nice, and it's a nice cool treat. Delicious. Thank you again so much for clicking on today's video and joining me today. I will link the recipe for both of these in the description below, and consider liking and subscribing for more content like this, and I'll see you next time.